I want to talk to you about how to write a credit dispute letter. And so here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So the thing is that when we talk about a credit dispute letter, we got to think about your ability to fix errors or fraud on your credit report, right? It's one of those things where, let's say you lost your wallet in an LA bar, then somebody picked it up, and then stuff happened. They start using your card, and boom, before you know it, you have a big hit to your credit score. You have to really understand. Your credit score is an important part of your financial well-being, and a strong credit score unlocks lower interest rates and gives you easier access to loans, for instance. And you also have the ability to make sure that you actually can apply for insurance also. And so the bottom line is that if there was a problem, let's say you have errors or fraud on your credit report, it's important that you need to fix it. So what is a credit dispute letter? Let's talk about that. So a credit dispute letter is basically a written query about an error on your credit report that you send to one or all of the three major credit reporting bureaus: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And this letter should present specific details about inaccuracies or negative items and include proof demonstrating why the bureau should correct them. And so it's really a good practice to dispute any incorrect information on your credit report, as leaving potential mistakes unattended could have a negative impact on your credit history. And over time, a poor credit history could prevent you from getting a mortgage, a car, or even a job for that matter. So disputing errors on your credit report is really kind of cool because it is protected by law. And so Section 611 of the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives consumers the right to challenge any questionable items on their credit reports free of charge. So when you think about a credit report dispute letter, that's really the most important thing. So a credit report dispute letter can be used to remove fraudulent accounts and loans, eliminate bad debts and reporting errors. So that's really cool here. You can notify lenders and employers of the updated report, and you can use it. You can use the letter to increase your credit score, and you can actually dispute errors on your credit report at any time, really, and there are several scenarios that can really give you grounds to dispute incorrect information on your credit report. Let's say if you have fraudulent accounts or debts, you have inaccurate account status information such as late payments, accounts that belong to other people, ex-spouses who are still listed on accounts, wrong credit limits or balances on existing accounts, accounts that are too old to be included on a credit report, and you have questionable hard inquiries. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So let me give you a few pro tips here. So what should you include in your credit dispute letter? And so when you are ready to submit your credit dispute letter, you can download a dispute form from each of the three credit reporting agencies, and you can mail the completed form with your dispute letter to the relevant bureau that actually reports the disputed items. So I'm going to give you on the screen here a checklist of essential information to include in your credit dispute letter. So Section 1, your personal information. We're going to put this on the screen so you have a clear idea what I'm speaking about. So Section 1, personal information. So we are speaking about your full name, your date of birth, your current address, driver's license number, your social security number, and the account number of the trade line you are disputing. So this could be an account number of your credit card, auto loan, utility bill, or mortgage statement. So that's Section 1, personal information. Then you have Section 2, the date of writing the letter. So just the date. Section 3, credit bureau address. So if it's TransUnion, you have to put the address. If it's Equifax, do the same. And if it's Experian, put the appropriate address. And Section 4, the body of the letter. So here, we're going to put this on the screen. So here you put to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. I recently reviewed my credit report and came across an inaccuracy that requires your attention. And so below you will find a list of the erroneous items along with a detailed explanation. I have attached supporting documents to help your investigation. Thanks in advance. You put your first name, last name, and that's it. And the section 5, the dispute information. So you have to put the dates of the disputed information. That's really important. Be as granular as possible. You have to put the account number. This should match the account number listed in the personal information section. The type of disputed information, so wrong account number, incorrect balance, old accounts, and so on and so forth. And a detailed explanation of what you believe is inaccurate on your credit report. And then section 6, those are basically enclosures. So to aid the Bureau with the investigation, you should really include supporting documents that back up your claims. For example, you can really append the following information. So it could be your credit report with the incorrect information highlighted, previous billing statements, confirmation of balance payoff. This could really help also. Confirmation of accounts closure, proof of fraud or identity theft in your name. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to write a credit dispute letter. So here are the steps I really want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about disputing errors on your credit report, there are a few steps you need to follow, okay? The letter is just one part of an official credit dispute. And now I want to explain to you step by step. If you want to lodge a dispute with any of the credit reporting agencies, what you should do. The first thing you want to do is you want to check your credit reports for incorrect information, right? You want to request a copy of your credit reports from all 3 credit reporting agencies at annualcreditreport.com. So when you go to annualcreditreport.com, you want to see your TransUnion credit report, your Equifax credit report, and your Experian credit report. So you want to check your report with all the bureaus because some companies or lenders only report to 1 or 2 agencies. So you might miss inaccurate or fraudulent information if you only review your report with 1 bureau. So here is what to look for in your credit reports. So what you want to do is you want to look for identity errors that include, for instance, a misspelled name, wrong address, or a different date of birth. So because of identity theft or some administration error, you could discover accounts that are incorrectly attributed to you. You also want to look for balance errors that can happen in the bureau, because if the bureau doesn't get the most accurate information about the limits and balances on your credit card accounts, this is totally possible. If the company reports a balance that is higher or lower than the actual balance, it will impact your reports and your credit score. You also want to look for account status errors that include incorrect reports about payments, account ownership, and whether or not an account is open or closed. If you have closed an account, make sure the bureau doesn't list it as open on your report. Very important. And so so you want to check your credit reports for incorrect information, and then you also want to fill out a credit dispute letter and include supporting documents. Right? Use the credit dispute letter templates that I showed you a little earlier to clearly explain what you think is wrong with your credit report. You should really submit the letter along with the Bureau's official dispute form and any additional supporting evidence. And so what you want to do is you want to ask the Bureau to remove or correct incorrect. You want them to remove or correct inaccurate or incomplete information on your credit report. You want to include detailed information about all of the credit report errors that you want to be corrected and why you believe each is wrong. And you want to enclose copies of supporting documents that prove your claim. Keep the original documents. Next, what you want to do is you want to send your credit dispute letters to each of the credit bureaus by mail. You know, we're talking about, of course, you want the bureau that reported the errors. Don't rely on online dispute forms or phone calls because these are harder to track and make it easier for your dispute to slip through the cracks. So when you mail your documents, pay for a return receipt so that you have a record of when the credit bureau receives your dispute. So here, we're going to put this on the screen so you can have it. So here is the contact information for each credit bureau. So we're going to put the Equifax Information Services. So Equifax Information Services, LLC, P.O. Box 740256, Atlanta, Georgia, 30374. 0256. That's for Equifax. Then you have Experian. So Experian, you have Experian PO Box 4500, Allen, Texas 75013. And then for TransUnion, you have a TransUnion LLC Consumer Dispute Center, PO Box 2000, Chester, Pennsylvania 19016. So you have it there. And so step number 4, you want to wait for your investigation results. Now the Bureau must investigate the dispute on your credit report within 30 days. So you have 30 days of receiving your letter by mail. They have to investigate. In many cases, you will receive a response sooner, but there are some exceptions. So you want to keep the following conditions in mind. So the Bureau has 45 days to investigate if you lodge a dispute after getting your free annual credit report. If you submit any additional, let's say you submit any additional information after the initial 30-day investigation period has begun, the Bureau can extend the investigation period for 15 additional days. And after completing the investigation, the agencies have 5 business days to notify you of the results. So, when it comes to the law is pretty strict as to what the Bureau can really do and what they cannot do. So it's one of those things where you have to see what works for your specific case and what doesn't. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to write a credit dispute letter. What you want to do is you want to continue to monitor. You want to monitor your credit and credit reports. So monitoring your credit and bank account is a vital part of practicing good cyber hygiene. And you can monitor your credit yourself by requesting free credit reports. However, this can be time-consuming and complex, which means you might miss important errors. So a credit monitoring service automatically warns you of any errors, mistakes, or suspicious activity on your credit reports, as well as your bank and investment accounts. So this is really cool. And so let me share with you a few red flags and alerts to look out for. So if you have unexpected changes to personal information on your bank accounts and home titles, such as your address, name, and phone number, unfamiliar transactions on credit cards, or new lines of credit open in your name, transactions over a set limit. So you set the transaction threshold, but there are some cases where you have to really adapt. So this is really things you have to think about. So here is the approach I want you to really pay attention to. So the thing is, what really happens after you send a credit dispute letter is actually codified by the law. So when you file a dispute, the Fair Credit Reporting Act requires the credit reporting bureaus to show that a particular item is in dispute. To do this, the bureaus place the code XB on the disputed credit entry, and the compliance condition code signals that the credit bureaus received your dispute letter and are actively investigating. And the bureau may actually rule in your favor if it has enough information. But more often than not, the bureau liaises with the original creditors, vendors, or lenders related to the dispute. So, for example, the bureau may contact an auto loan company that made hard pulls on your credit report. So, whenever a company receives a dispute from any of these 3 credit bureaus, it must do the following by law. It must actually investigate the disputed information and report back to the bureau. If the company can verify the disputed information, it must change or delete it from all records. In the event of changing or deleting information, the company must notify all credit reporting companies to which it provided the wrong information. So those are things you need to really think about. So if the bureau considers your report to be irrelevant or without grounds, it will stop investigating. In this case, the authorities will notify you and may request additional evidence to actually support your dispute. And so you will get a response from the bureau about your credit dispute letter 30 to 45 days. As I said a little earlier, 30 to 45 days after they have received your letter. In any case, the bureau must send you the results within the 5 business days of completing the investigation. If the bureau corrects your credit report, it will issue an updated credit report to you for free. Also, if you ask, the credit bureau must send notifications of all the corrections of your credit report to anybody who received your report in the past 6 months and anybody who obtained a copy for employment purposes in the previous 2 years. So The law is pretty strict in when it comes to that. Now, there are elements that people actually always ask about, like if you dispute information on your credit report, would that affect your credit score? Well, it really depends, because the act of filing a credit dispute letter with the bureau will not negatively impact your credit score, not at all. However, your score may dip if the bureau rules against your dispute and finds the query issue to be correct. Okay, so this results happens because the bureau removes the XB code after it completes the investigation into your dispute. And similarly, if the bureau finds that if they find that the disputed item is indeed inaccurate as per your dispute letter, your credit score could increase after the bureau removes the XB code. So you got to keep in mind that you should only file a dispute for legitimate queries. So if you try to game the system to increase your credit score, this could backfire. This is really important. For instance, some fraudsters trick people into buying a credit protection number, also known as a credit privacy number, or CPN. So this 9-digit number is not a legitimate code that you should use on credit applications or with financial institutions. Any attempt to use CPN numbers or other fraudulent means to improve your credit score could land you in trouble with authorities. So don't do it. Do not do it. Bottom line is, if your credit dispute is denied, you really have a couple of things to do. You want to dispute the decision with the credit reporting agency. So you may file a new dispute to challenge the bureau's original decision. In this case, it's really essential to provide additional information about the issues that help the bureau reinvestigate and hopefully see things your way. You can also use a Section 609 dispute letter. So if you are unhappy with the results of your dispute, you have the right under federal law to pursue the matter further. So Section 609 of the FCRA can be invoked to request additional information from the credit bureaus or put pressure on them to reassess their decision. So that's totally fine. And Section 609 addresses your right to request additional details about all of the information on your credit report. So the theory is that if the credit bureau cannot provide detailed information about your credit score, or let's say transaction history, they'll have to remove it. Okay. Now, while there are plenty of posts online claiming to provide a special Section 609 dispute letter, there is no real proof that any specific letter template will get you the result you're looking for. So do not waste your money on credit repair scams like this. Instead, you want to follow the official steps and take them as far as they will go. And you can also add a statement to your credit file where it makes sense. So if a bureau rejects your credit dispute letter, you may add a 100-word consumer statement to your report that explains your position. One caveat is that many automated systems used in the credit applications process will overlook these statements. So it's best to remove any statements from your file if the issues have aged off your reports. For example, if you went bankrupt 12 years ago, a statement about this dispute on your credit report could do more harm than good. Complained with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is another possibility. So the CFPB is a U.S. government agency that ensures that banks, lenders, and other financial companies treat consumers fairly and in line with the law. So if you feel your credit dispute letter was rejected unfairly, you can lodge a complaint with the CFPB by visiting consumerfinance.gov. This is totally possible, and you also can consider legal action against the company or bureau. So if a credit reporting agency or any company involved in your dispute fails to comply with the FCRA, you may have grounds for a lawsuit. Now, guilty parties may be liable for actual or statutory damages and attorney fees. So if you decide to go down this route, be aware that there are time limits on filing a lawsuit. So it's one of those things where you have to be very careful here. Now, do not let fraudsters or false information ruin your credit. So sometimes an unfamiliar item on your credit report is much more than a simple reporting error by a business or bureau. It could be a clue to something more insidious. So once you spot inaccuracies or, let's say, any warning signs of identity theft, you need to take action to repair your credit and limit the damage. And a credit dispute letter invokes your rights to get fair treatment by creditors and lenders, and the Bureau will do everything in its power to help you if you are the victim of identity theft. So for added security and peace of mind, consider an identity theft protection solution. I mean, we have covered this on other shows, but it's one of those things where there are pros and cons of when we talk about identity theft protection, there are pros and cons, but you have more pros and cons. I mean, you can have a 24/7 credit monitoring that warns you of any suspicious activity on your account and really delivers rapid fraud alerts faster than any other security providers. You want to have you can have antivirus software and a military-grade virtual private network to let you browse confidently and safely access your email and online banking account. You have a secure password manager that enables you to create and store unique, complex password for every account. 1,000 to 1 million insurance policy for every adult member on your plan that covers eligible losses due to identity theft. And you also have, in some cases, you might have white glove fraud resolution specialists that provide support to help you navigate the challenges involved with banks, creditors, and government agencies. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to write a credit dispute letter. So I give you the overview, the pro tips, the steps, the approach, and the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.